Mr. Scott Gillingham is with us today. Current city councilor, or I guess you've kind of vacated that position now to run for mayor, also a former pastor in the city. I'm wondering what's driven you to decide to put your hat in the ring and run for mayor this year.
Well, first of all, thanks for the opportunity, Mike. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yes, 8 years on council, and before that, a pastor. And right now, I believe I've got the right combination of the current experience on council, and to know, what we need, what we do well at the city of Winnipeg, what we need to do different to make Winnipeg stronger, and then what we need to do to seize the opportunities that will make our city healthier and grow our city for the future.
People in Winnipeg this election period, Portage and Main reopening seems to be lower on the list of things that's important. They're looking at a lot of people listing homelessness as their number one issue this election. What are your thoughts on the issue? How do you plan to help people that are experiencing homelessness in the city?
Well, you're right there, and your audience is right. There are too many of our fellow Winnipeggers that are struggling with homelessness or unsheltered right now in our city. I've got a plan to build modular housing on City of Winnipeg property. The City of Winnipeg ends up with surplus properties, and we will take six of those properties, rezone them, build modular housing with the federal government's Rapid Housing Initiative funding, so we can get people into homes, but not just getting people off the street into homes. Then they need the supports, whether it's addiction services or mental health services, or other services as well, so they could transition perhaps back into the workforce or into a more stable life. So I'll make sure that we have those wraparound supports as well. That's where it's really important that the city's working with the province of Manitoba and their departments, and then other third-party agencies that are providing either addiction services or mental health or other social services as well. So the partnerships are really key to addressing homelessness and helping individuals who are struggling and on our streets right now.
Kind of a housing first approach,
Yes.
sort of? Yeah.
Yes, I'm a housing first believer. It's really difficult to assist someone if they've got addictions, let's say, if they're living in a bus shelter or in a camp along the river. I mean, you could provide temporary relief for them and food and maybe some warm blankets, but to really help them get a handle on their addiction and get the help that they need to be in housing first, stable housing, so that those wraparound services can be provided.
You mentioned addiction, and that's tied in with the next top issue for a lot of people, crime. And it just feels like crime getting more and more out of control. A lot of people don't feel safe in certain areas of the city. We were walking down on Portage Avenue, my wife and I, a couple weeks ago in the evening. Even I was feeling a little uneasy, right? How do you plan to address the crime in this city?
Well, at first I want to acknowledge, the way you and your wife are feeling, and too many people are feeling that way, and I don't blame them. There is a problem with crime in our city. I think it ties a moment ago to what we just have been talking about. Not always, but right now, too often, it's the case where mental health, addiction, and homelessness and crime are feeding off one another. I will, as mayor, I'll go back to a focus on crime prevention. And to do that, we'll establish a community safety strategy, a community safety plan, where we get the right stakeholders and groups at the table that have an active role in community safety. So police would be at the table, but so would the fire department and paramedics, provincial departments of justice and housing, families, but then groups like Main Street Project, the Bear Clan, could be Solo Mission, other groups as well, St. Boniface Street Links, and other groups that are doing the work with individuals. The Downtown Community Safety Partnership, also critical. Building a coordinated plan with all of those groups at the table so that we're all proverbially rowing in the same direction and coordinated in our efforts to make the city safer would be key. I said to make sure it happens, I'll sit on the police board as the mayor. It'll be the first time the mayor of Winnipeg has ever sat on the police board. I used to chair the police board. We'll go back on the police board to make sure that the policing services are prioritized in a way that are reflective of implementing that plan to make Winnipeg safer.
You've talked a lot about working with other third-party groups in the city for a lot of your plans. You also mentioned working with the provincial government earlier. I think for a lot of the issues that we need to address in Winnipeg, you need to work well with other levels of government, right? And it seems like maybe Mr. Bowman and Mr. Pallister didn't always have the best relationship. How do you plan to, to improve the city's relationship with both provincial government and federal government?
You're right, Mike. It's critical. The city of Winnipeg needs the partnership of the province of Manitoba to be successful and to really move ahead. And so I'm committed to making sure that I'm fostering a good relationship with whomever the premier is and their government. So that we can look at win-win scenarios and understand where we can, work together so it's mutually beneficial. We need to tackle our challenges together because they're shared challenges, and we need to seize our opportunities together because they're opportunities that are shared opportunities. And so my commitment to have a good relationship with the provincial government is key to us as a city being able to be successful. And that is, as mayor, would be one of my top priorities.
One of those relationships with the provincial government sometimes has to do with funding for road construction. We really saw this spring, especially, right, just how bad the roads were in Winnipeg, potholes everywhere. How do you plan to deal with this problem? It's a huge issue in the city.
Well, at the top of the show here, we talked about the fact that I've been on council for 8 years. For almost 6 of those, I chaired the finance committee, and we've been bringing in record road budgets, record investment in roads. I'll continue to build on that. And so I've talked about in my platform, I'll add $50 million more to road maintenance, and then also add funding so that we can widen Keniston Boulevard and extend Chief Peguis Trail. But also, there's other modes of transportation that are important to people too. We'll add money to our bus service, so our bus service in Winnipeg is more frequent and more reliable. We'll close some of the gaps in our cycling network as well, so that we can build more bike lanes because a lot of people walk and cycle. So that is all part of what's called my big move, infrastructure investment.
So the big question always, like, a lot of politicians, they make great promises, they have great platforms, right? But then reality hits. Oh, these things cost money. Where's the money going to come from?
Well, I've been very open about this. I've said at the early days, I said I will tell people, what the vision is. We'll tell you how much it costs, and then I'll talk about how we're going to pay for it. So I've said that I would raise property taxes. Right now they're set to go up by 2.33%. We'll raise it to 3.5% per year, and then a one-time frontage levy increase of $1.50, and that will raise the revenue that we need to raise so that we can make the investments in the city that we need to make in whether it's infrastructure or better city services. And right now, over the last a couple of years, the province of Manitoba has reduced the education tax. And so even with this tax increase that I'm talking about, the average homeowner will still be paying less in taxes than they paid in previous years.
Taxes, like, you just need them, right? It
You
would be
just
nice
need
to
them.
live in a world where there were no taxes, but we wouldn't
Yeah.
have much around us then.
That's right. They do fund the services that we really rely upon, and for the city of Winnipeg, property taxes is really the only funding source that we have.
Tell us a little bit about how we can find you online, dig into your platform a little bit deeper, and make our decision before Election Day.
Voteforscott.ca is my website, and my entire platform is there. You'll see the entire platform laid out, every different section, everything from downtown, focus on the downtown, to, as we talked about, crime, safety, homelessness, roads. Voteforscott.ca, and if you have any questions, you can contact me that way as well.
Mr. Scott Gillingham, thanks so much for joining us today, and all the best in these last days of the election.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it, and I do ask for everyone's vote.